It is April 5th, 2022, and it is, 6:05. And I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Okay. This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by transmitting the notice of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press, the Tri-Town News, and the Star Ledger, by posting it on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements in the Township Municipal Building, and by filing it with the municipal clerk on January 11th, 2022. This agenda is complete to the extent known and formal action will be taken. Roll call, Councilman Bonovich.
Present.
Councilwoman Brennan.
Present.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Richmond.
Present.
Mayor Berger.
Present. May we please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance and remember all of the lives that are being lost in Ukraine and Russia.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Geegan, is there any reason for us to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, Mayor, we have items to discuss under personnel and attorney-client privilege.
May I have a motion to go into executive?
I'll make a motion to go into executive. Mayor?
Good.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes.
And if I may read the resolution. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12, and whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session, and whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items listed below, which are personnel and attorney-client privilege.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry we're a little bit late. Are we ready, Brian? At this time, I would like to open Howell's council meeting, April 5th, 2022, for a regular session at 7 p.m. Do we do opening? No?
We can just come back in, yeah.
If we could please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence for all of our fallen heroes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of March 15, 2022?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of March 2022.
Second that.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan.
Abstain?
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. So we have some champions here this evening. Do we want to all go down up there and... Yeah. You wanna come on? Yeah, sure. John.
Okay.
So we think we're going to be able to hand them out. We thought we weren't going to be able to hand them out individually, but I think, yeah, please bring them all in. Well, yeah, that's the A, okay. Okay. So we're going to call you in alphabetical order. When you, if you can come up and come up right here, and then somebody is going to hand you your proclamation. Okay? So this is all up to you guys. Connor Acker. Chase Amadeo. Mason Black. Okay. Cooper Candle. Chris Cerulli. James Curtis. Brock Goodman. Connor Halverson. Casey Mahoney. Chase Marks. Why doesn't this work? Chase and Maddox. Molinaro. No, that's not his. No, no, no. We'll switch it. Jordan. Jordan Mosen. Timothy O'Rourke. Is Ivan here? Jaden Pegues? No, no L. No L. No L. No. Dylan Ross? Mikey Santamassimino? Daniel Schneck? TJ. Sorry. And Zachary Zaltzman? Are we missing one? And we also want to thank our coaches, and if you guys want to come up, please. I know. But we don't have, for whatever reason. Ian Taliente. Okay, so we want to thank our coaches as well. Please, gentlemen, come on up. Head coach Joe Goodman, Casey Mahoney, Tom Marino, Mike Mosenthien, Tim O'Rourke, Angel Sanchez, and Greg Schneck. I hope that's right. And Sean Scully, Chris Wotzner, and our team mom, Jody Goodman. Where's our team mom?
Small guys in the back, small guys in the front.
I should be behind, like, I gotta be on the back, so I should be like all the way over there, right? Yeah.
DJ, back up. DJ, back up. They passed us a lot of money. Thanks, thanks.
You guys have to go down a little bit. Yeah, you gotta go down. Yeah, the first row go down. First row go down. You guys, squeeze in this way.
Stand up.
Ready? Say champions. Champions. Number one. Sean Strong. Nicely done, guys.
Just a real quick thank you. We really appreciate all of you guys for recognizing us. It's a long season. We really loved every second of it, and this was really special. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for everything.
I have the trick chair.
So happy. Happy crowd.
There are two proclamations as well. Allison, would you please read the proclamations?
All right. First one we have is for World Health Day, which is April 7th, 2022. Whereas Health Day is observed worldwide on April 7th each year. World Health Day is a global health awareness day which aims to highlight a priority area of concern for the World Health Organization, WHO. And whereas Our Planet, Our Health is the theme of World Health Day 2022, which focuses global attention on urgent actions needed to keep humans and the planet healthy and foster a movement to create societies focused on well-being. And whereas WHO estimates that more than 13 million deaths around the world each year are due to avoidable environmental causes. Over 90% of people breathe unhealthy air. Mosquitoes are spreading diseases farther and faster than ever before. Extreme weather events, land degradation, and water scarcity are displacing people and affecting their health. Pollution and plastics are found at the bottom of our oceans, the highest mountains, and in our food chain. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic revealed weaknesses in all areas of society and underlined the urgency of creating sustainable, well-being societies committed to achieving equitable health now and for future generations without breaching ecological limits. A well-being economy has human well-being, equity, and ecological sustainability as its goals. Breaking the cycles of destruction for the planet and human health requires legislative action, corporate reform, and individuals to be supported and incentivized to make healthy choices. Now, therefore, Teresa Berger, Mayor of the Township of Howell, on behalf of the Township Council, does hereby proclaim April 7th, 2022 as World Health Day in the Township of Howell and call this observance to the attention of all our citizens.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
May I ask to read the second proclamation regarding Parkinson's disease,
Yes, of course.
if that's okay? Thank you very much. I asked this specifically just because someone as near to me as possible, my dad suffers from Parkinson's, and I just want to make sure everybody is aware, because I'm sure I'm not alone in knowing somebody who is afflicted with this horrific, debilitating challenge. So, if I may, whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States, and whereas Parkinson's disease is estimated to affect approximately 1 million people in the United States, and the prevalence will rise to 1.2 million by 2030. It is the 14th leading cause of death in the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And whereas it is estimated that the economic burden of Parkinson's disease is at least $52 billion annually, including direct and indirect costs, including treatment, Social Security payments, and lost income to patients and family members. And whereas research suggests the cause of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause and progression of the disease is still unknown. And whereas there is no objective test or biomarker for Parkinson's disease, and there is no cure or drug to slow or halt the progression of the disease. The symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement, and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairment and dementia, mood disorders, and a variety of other non-motor symptoms. And whereas volunteers, researchers, caregivers, and medical professionals are working to improve the quality of life of persons living with Parkinson's disease and their families. And whereas increased research, education, and community support services are needed to find more effective treatments and to provide access to quality care to those living with the disease today. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Teresa Berger, Mayor of the Township of Howell, on behalf of the Township Council, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in the Township of Howell. Thank you.
We have some discussion regarding Howell Day.
Yes, Mayor, I was asked to add this onto the agenda for a discussion with council to get a determination whether we should move forward with it this year or not. The timing with all the construction that's been approved recently between the bathrooms and also with the lights may cause some disruption to the fields around that time frame. So I just wanted to get a sense from the council what you thought about maybe in lieu of Howell Day hosting a different event, possibly later in the year, or an alternate location.
I have a couple of thoughts on that. As you said, in consideration for the improvements being made at Soldier Memorial, I personally would opt for Howell Day to go into the fall area and do a fall fest for a Howell Day. We can still have the word Howell Day and the green team, so I know that they depend on that particular Howell Day for part of their point system. But moving it certainly wouldn't change that. But I think it would give the residents an opportunity to enjoy the improved park more. And it would also give us an opportunity to celebrate fall and perhaps we would have a greater response from the citizens if we just change it up a little bit, so Howell Day could be in, the end of October, November, whatever the case. So I'm hoping that, everybody on the council has different thoughts and feelings on it, but I was hoping we might be able to make Howell Day a bigger and a better program by moving it to a different month of the year.
I'm not opposed to moving it. I mean, I'm canceling it at all. I mean, we can't cancel it.
Of course not.
I'm just saying, Brian, you said postpone it.
Either or, I didn't know.
We cannot, we don't have enough events in town. The community really needs it. I would second maybe postponing it, but we don't even have the plans yet, correct? So when are we gonna have the plans for this building and the lights?
It's ongoing. It's going to be, a month or so until we start to see
So-
timing-wise.
I mean, can we wait to that point and pick the date? I mean,
So I just have a question before we even go any further. Do we have what's the budget on Howell Day? What is the,
It pulls from several different lines, but annually it costs us probably around $50,000.
50,000
Yeah.
in totality, fireworks and all that stuff? Okay, I just-
Overtime for
before-
staff.
well, and we shorten the hours, right?
You did shorten that is what's shortening the hours,
We
right?
shorten the overtime, we shorten the hours, we shorten the amount of people and staff.
Yes.
I would like to just really get this plan together first and say, can we have it still the same time, or do we have to move it back a month?
Okay. The reason I'm asking now is because we're already behind the eight ball with securing vendors and different performers, things like that, so.
That's why.
Would September be, I'm sorry, would September be, like, November could be cold.
Well, even October, I mean, if we're worried about the timeline, but
Well-
I know that vendors are a real issue in terms of.
We also, we have members of the PBA in the back. When is your Oktoberfest? We don't want to, is that
The first
Ryan?
week- I
Is that
have it on
Mr.
my
Hilly?
calendar,
Yeah.
actually. It's the first week.
Yeah,
of
when is Oktoberfest? I don't want to screw with that.
The beginning.
I mean, that.
Yeah, that's also something too. That's another great community event. We don't want to plan it on the same week or back to back so we want to work together on that.
Which, that's also why I wanted to at least start the conversation early, because we'll be invariably competing with other events or, so try and get us on the calendar as early as possible if we're going to do an alternate date.
So we agreed to do it, but possibly
I'm
an
not too
alternate
sure
date.
about that right now, and I just wanted to throw another option out there, since we are working on the lights and having all this stuff worked on Soldier Memorial. It would be a nice place, obviously, eventually to put everything over there, but would anybody be opposed to doing a winter fest of some sort? Maybe over at Echo Lake, we can bus the people in, we can do a tree lighting, menorah lighting, we can have Santa inside by the fireplace. We had
Memorial.
yeah, but if the lights are, I'm just saying, it would be great there, like a holiday in the park, like they do at Six Flags, but if the lights are not ready, we can pivot and do it over at Echo Lake, bus people in, we have the building inside, we have the bathrooms, we have, we put the lights up, we can do a tree lighting there, until we can figure out the Soldier Memorial thing. Because with construction and all that stuff, September, October, whatever it is, from what I understand, the lights in the bathrooms will not be done over there. So, just a suggestion to keep something.
Yeah, so my
look
question
forward
would
to.
be then, how long do we have before we have to have a concrete decision? What's our timeline?
Depends
Yesterday?
on- Yeah, it depends on how big you want it, because obviously, we're going to be competing with other events, and then to try and get vendors, performers, things like that, if we're going to have something the magnitude of Howell Day. Stephen Fetcher has already been working on that for a few months already.
Right.
I'm just in a shock that, I mean, we have to have a Howell Day. That's why.
I'm not too sure about that.
Well, we
No,
should
I
have
think we have
something.
to have Howell Day, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have a community event, but I think that the concept of having something closer toward the winter holidays is novel, and I think it's something that might bring more people out, because it's a different thing that different members of our community might have an interest in, and I think that we can make it really grand, and I like the idea of having it at Echo Lake. I think it's something different. It's one of our most beautiful properties in our town that I don't know how many people use, but no matter how many people use it, I don't think it's ever enough, because it really is quite an exquisite place to be, and just to have that even as a backup if Soldier Memorial isn't filled up or isn't ready for such an event. I think that that's a fantastic second choice. If we can't do it at Soldier Memorial, I would advocate for doing something the first. Maybe, I don't know what we would potentially be competing with in the beginning of December, but I would advocate for that.
So is it safe to say just maybe this year Howell Day is at Echo Lake? Rather than push it back a month or two, just do Howell Day at a different location?
How about, I mean,
I would agree to that.
Oakland Park is always an option too. That's where it used to be. It was a little.
For Howell Day, that might
I'm
be
just,
a better
yeah, if
option.
we're gonna run into these weather problems or construction problems,
But we
let's
do
just
do the
move it
tree
to another
lighting anyway
location.
in front of Town Hall, and maybe
Right.
to take it off the Route 9 corridor and put it somewhere back where, our parks are underutilized anyway. Why not take it to Oakland or Echo Lake and utilize parks that, aren't
We were
utilized
having
during.
discussion, this discussion with the farmer's market.
Yes. Yep.
And the suggestion was possibly if it was done, that we could move the
farmer's market.
the farmer's market there, but do the tree lighting there.
Yeah, right, if we're ready, if it's ready, it'd be
So,
great.
I mean, and we talked about that, I thought that was a really nice idea. And they were gonna have like a market as well,
like a
right?
Bryant
So
Park or
I will
something.
say, yeah, we did talk about that, and I followed up with Paul Novello in DPW, and just apropos of nothing, I suppose the fireplace works there too, so you have that, you have tree, menorah, all that stuff, so, and the pavilion's available, right? So it's a place to warm up. I suppose, a colder weather event might be better suited in a place like that, and we can run buses up from wherever, like, Stephen knows better than I do how he handles that type of traffic for Howell Day or whatever.
Are we suggesting then, I think we've sort of feathered off, but are we suggesting that the tree lighting and Howell Day be incorporated?
No, I am not suggesting that.
I am.
What were you saying, Councilman?
I was just suggesting that if we're gonna have construction and we're worried about the weather, I would like to see more events than less events. So I would like to have Howell Day at a different location and then have the menorah and tree lighting as well as, as we usually do.
Agreed.
So then the
I
Howell,
think the community needs more, not less events. That's my feeling on it.
so Howell Day possibly at,
Oakland.
Park.
Oakland,
Oakland Park, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it used to be.
because we are under construction and then next year we move it back.
And that again is October, correct?
Should be September.
September?
September.
It's usually
I'll
the
give you the date.
last Saturday of the month.
24th.
Is that feasible? Is that feasible to get it together?
Yes, Stephen's already been
He's
working
already
on it
working
for
on
that
it.
date. It's just, since recently this issue has come up with the construction schedule at Soldier Memorial, it's become an issue. So to change the location, I don't see that as being a huge impediment.
What kind of events typically happen over, are we displacing anybody at Howell, at Oakland?
I'll have to check with DPW to see what's scheduled.
I'd like to also make another suggestion on top of Howell Day. I know Councilman Bonovich mentioned more community events. Obviously, we have Easter in the Park, we have, Baxter Fishing Derby. Stephen puts on a lot of good things, and I had sent him some information on maybe doing a house lighting, decorating contest that they do in Manasquan. I kind of follow them a little bit, and I've sent him all the information, and I think that's a nice community, as long as we can logistically get that, intact. But Manasquan does it. I know they're a little small in Howell, but something to add to the Winterfest or something in the winter, because we all know how it's cold and nobody likes to do anything, and it may get people out. We haven't worked out the logistics. Again, I just sent the information over to Stephen, just for him to see if something he's capable of doing and what it would cost. But I love the idea, and it gets the community involved, and that's, just something I wanted to just throw out while we're discussing community events.
Sure. We've talked about that in the past. I think that's a great idea. It came up before.
And it should be a relatively inexpensive venture. And it's, yeah.
So,
Just as a side note, the Howell PBA Oktoberfest is October 1st.
Correct, very early in the afternoon.
Mark your calendars.
So do you need us to
No, I think
Do
the
what?
general consensus is continue with Howell Day as planned on the same day, just changing the location to
Oakland.
Oakland Park. I'll check and make sure we don't have anything else scheduled there. We might be able to relocate them.
Because whatever Stephen is working on presently could easily just be moved.
Exactly,
So there's
yes.
no harm, no foul, basically. I mean, vendors are not, nothing's changing for them, so.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so just a couple of things. This is National Library Week, April 3rd through the 9th. So please visit our library at 318 Old Tavern Road. Please remember, which is something very important to me, is Autism Awareness Month. So please, if you know anyone, show your blue. There's bulk pickup and spring brush collection, which has already started, right, Brian? So,
ma'am.
and when will that end?
It lasts for several weeks. It depends on how quickly they can work through. I have a few details about that in my report. They've already started with Zone A for bulk and Zone G for brush. And we are going to be rolling out an online scheduling program for that, for bulk, that we're just kind of testing out right now. So,
This Saturday, April 9th, is Clean Community Day, so all volunteers are welcome. It's at Echo Lake, which is 1225 Maxim Southern Road. It's at 9:30 a.m., and there will be lunch and awards. Adelphia Fire Company is having a blood drive tomorrow for 6 from 12 to 7 at the Barnegat Room and on 925 Adelphia Avenue. I just wanted to say, everyone knows that our chief of police has retired and is moving on to a new position. And so I would like to just say thank you to the chief for all of the community service that he gave to Howell. In the 6 years that I worked with him, it was always Howell first. I wish him much luck in his new position, and I also want to welcome Acting Chief Mark Pilecki. I look forward to working with him. He always makes me smile. So I hope them both good luck. Councilman.
Mayor, you kind of hit everything. You hit the blood drive, you hit bulk, you got all my notes. But I guess I'd like to just follow up that, about the chief retiring. You know, he was a great communicator, and that's a hard act to follow as far as, you know, something's happening at the schools and, you know, everyone's nervous, and he had this calming way. And Chief Kudrick was great at that, and I have no doubts in Chief Pilecki as well. I mean, this guy is through and through for the town. He sat in front of this council numerous times, letting us know about, you know, dispatch and how local and how response times, you know, how everything matters, seconds matter. And, you know, he's another guy that puts Howell first, so we're in good hands, and can't wait to work with Chief Pilecki.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Mayor, for reminding them about the brush pickup and the clean day on Saturday. Again, I'd like to say that the Howell Senior Center is always looking for volunteers, still looking for volunteers. And they, of course, offer an enormous amount of programs. There is a senior gazette out on the coffee table by the couches near the restrooms. You can actually see the calendar of events. Our senior center certainly offers an incredible amount of programming to seniors. So I would say that if you are not a senior and cannot partake, you surely must know someone that might be able to enjoy it. So please pass the word. Secondly, again, the Howell Historical Society, as we all know, has taken possession of the library, which is around the corner from the police station. And of course, is still looking for all donations and more so volunteer work in helping to man the library, general maintenance with yard work and cleanup and that type of thing. It's a very welcoming group, and anyone interested in history or just helping the community, I would say calling the group, Lee Schaefer, Ann Malsbury, I believe, is the president this year. Please don't hesitate. If you volunteered for 1 day or 100 days, anything that you can give them, they certainly appreciate. It's an excellent opportunity. They've been able to, save an old building and whatnot, so they are into their elbows in work, and I implore everyone to lend a hand if possible. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. Really quickly, I do believe that Volunteer Recognition, or Volunteer Appreciation Week or Recognition Week is going to be coming up soon in April. I believe it's the week of April 17th. So certainly want to shout out to all of the wonderful volunteers in our community and beyond who do the hard work and just want to benefit our community. Always impressed and always grateful for everybody's efforts. And on a broader note, I always want to shout out for Brookdale Community College because I had the good fortune of serving on their Board of Trustees, so it's very near and dear to my heart. I currently serve on the President's Advisory Council, so I want to just always be able to take an opportunity to highlight what we have in Howell and beyond in our community, because our county college is just superior across the state, and I'm very proud to say that. And one thing I really want to point out is there is an opportunity for all of us to go and dine at their culinary center in Asbury. I had the good fortune to do so. It is a magnificent tasting menu, and the students present it beautifully. And that is a very limited time offer that only runs through April 14th this year. And then they'll open it up again in the fall because they do it in conjunction with their classes. So I just want to give a shout out to Brookdale because as Howell is part of Monmouth County, I think it's really important to take note of what's going on in Howell and beyond in our county. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I do have a few things, Mayor. So the Wall of Heroes is coming along. If anybody came in, the TV's up. We're waiting for a few more materials to finish the job before we do an unveiling. That's why we haven't put a date out yet. We do have close to 40 slides already. So if you do know a veteran who's associated, connected to Howell, please make sure you get that over to us sooner than later. It'll be ongoing, so there's no rush, there's no deadline. Just wanted to update on that. I wanted to ask Mr. Howard, I did see in your monthly report that the landlord registration compliance, thanks to Mr. Dunwoody and Mr. Aguilar, we're at 97.56%. Can you just kind of let the community know what hard work these guys have done and what that means for the town?
Sure.
Thank you.
Every January, every landlord in town has to register. We get to know who the landlord is, where the rentals are, and who the tenants are. In case of emergency, it's very useful to have that information. We're always looking to improve our efficiencies and make it easier on the residents as well as ourselves. It used to be 600 to 700 rentals in town. We're now well over 1,000, and they all come in these 1 or 2 months out of the year. So it's a massive effort. A couple years ago, we looked to turn this online, so residents and landlords could apply online without coming to the town hall, without mailing things in. And when we started doing that, we started to get their email addresses. So we're able to not only take the applications in, but we can email out reminders and invoices. So we start doing that in November. Those actions of being able to give the invoice as a reminder has cut down on violations. In 2018, only 25% of our landlords registered before we had to send them a violation. We had to issue almost 200 summonses in 1 year because compliance was so low. We're at the point now that because of those invoices, 75% of the landlords now will register before we give them a violation. And then out of the other 25, we're getting 22% of those to come in. And we have a very low 2.5% non-compliance rate. So instead of 200 summonses, we're down to 25. It's made the job easier on us, and we think the residents are happier by being able to do things online. So I think it's a great success.
Well done, thank you. I have 2 more things. I wanted to ask the manager on our park improvement program. In order for our parks to become world-class, I guess you want to maybe call them, because people have complained about us not maintaining them, would we be able to look into maybe outsourcing the care and maintenance of our parks so it's not such a big burden on our DPW? I don't know if there's a company out there that we could work with, that can work with the other sports teams to make sure that everything is up to par and up to, regulations, and our parks start looking like someone's in there every day keeping them clean. Is that something that we could possibly look at?
Yes,
Yeah.
check into, some options and bring them to the council.
Yeah, that'll be great.
I imagine, I've had some thoughts with that
Yeah.
over the last few years that we might be able to put
I
something
just
together.
know that we've been working, and we're going to put all this work into the park, so I think it makes sense to,
Even if we could do a pilot program, just try 1 or 2 areas of
Yeah.
town, something small.
maybe one small park, one big park, and we see how that goes. Because we're going to invest all this money, it's definitely worth keeping them pristine.
Can I just comment on that? I don't want to be the guy that pushes back just a little bit, but we're here to talk about our budget, so I would like to know how that would affect our budget. I mean, I know that that would, because.
You're asking me for.
No, I know
a
that, but I
number,
mean,
and I haven't
out
even
there.
done
but
the
I'm just,
research.
if you're gonna look,
Yeah.
if you're gonna look for this information, then I would like to know how it would affect our budget.
Sure.
And, excuse me, and how it would affect, staffing.
Right. Just on a 10,000-mile view of this, for example, like we privatized janitorial services here at the town hall. We were able to reduce through attrition 3 full-time positions. I'm looking to do something similar in this budget with the criminal justice building. That's included within my budget proposal for this year. Something like that, I need to research it, make sure we can do it, but might be able to use open space funding for it, so it would hopefully have no impact on the budget at all.
Thank you.
I just need to make sure we can do that first.
I do have one more thing. I just wanted to put on the record that there's a master plan update, so the land use element and the circulation plan, I know that the professionals are on the 3rd draft. And I know it's going to be presented to the planning board in a very immediate future. I had spoke to some of the professionals, obviously with the manager's permission, and they've been working behind the scenes for months. And I know the narrative out there is that nothing is being done, nobody has seen anything, it's been months. But rest assured that in the next upcoming months, that the work that these professionals have been doing behind the scenes is a very meticulous process. It's not something that can be done willy-nilly. It's not something that can be done without making sure we can't get sued. It's a big process. So for the misinformation that's out there that nothing is being done, I have to say, our professionals are doing a really great job. And when you see the outcome of what they've put into place, how we're getting to where we're getting, they want to ensure that the right changes are made for the quality of life of Howell, to preserve the way Howell is, why we're all here. So for the misinformation that's out there that the Republicans or the council or the professionals are not doing anything, that's just very, very false. These people work very, very hard. They're doing the job behind the scenes, and while it'll take a little bit of time for us to see the results of it, I think everybody in the public should be and will be happy with the results. So far, what I've seen, and you've all seen the stuff they put out for the traffic study. They've been, working on some zoning issues, and I just want to, I'm going to defer to Mr. Howard, because he's the one on the front lines, work with the professionals, and Mr. Clark as well, that it's very important that they have the recognition, so when this does come out and the public sees what the outcome is, I don't think you'll be very disappointed. So I'm gonna defer to you, gentlemen. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, just to second that, we are nearing the finalization of drafts, and that's what they are. They're going to be drafts. They're going to go to the master plan subcommittee and then to the planning board. The master plan reports are the planning board's documents. We're going to seek public input, make any changes that we think are necessary based on that input, and we're going to move forward.
Mr. Clark?
Well, I think he hit the nail right on the head. So a lot of what we don't do at first is in secret, and there's a reason for it. Obviously, if we're going to be proposing zoning changes, there may be developers out there who would like to know that ahead of time. So if we telegraph that, we're really doing ourselves a disservice. So we do the work a piece at a time, and when it's time for the final product, the ordinances that come before council for approval, the things like that, where the rubber really hits the road, everything's in place and everything's been done, at least to the best of our ability and knowledge, that tells us this is a good plan and nothing has leaked. So, that's, like you said, people complain about the lack of transparency, but sometimes transparency is the enemy of the process, at least early on.
Thank you, guys, for that. Just one more thing. I had asked Mr. Howard and Mr. Geegan, another big complaint is obviously our vacant properties. And I had asked Mr. Howard about a vacant property ordinance and if it needs to be relooked at. I know a lot of people in the public think that, our empty buildings should be filled, and while I think the council agrees, I think Mr. Howard has some information that would maybe help ease some minds.
Yeah, I alluded to this at a past meeting too. There's a new state law that just came into effect, and it gives a broader reach for creating a registry for any abandoned or vacant residential or commercial property. Right now, we have a real property mortgage ordinance, and that deals with bank-owned vacant residential properties. So actually, when you kind of break that down, if you don't meet one of those criteria, you don't get on the registry, you're not eligible, and there's little we can do. That registry used to have about 100 properties on it. We are now down to 12 because the banks have caught on. They don't want to pay registration fees, so they rent the house, which is good. It's not a vacancy, and renting definitely serves a purpose. But that registry is not, very functional anymore. This new law is broader. It allows us any abandoned property, whether it's privately owned, bank-owned, in foreclosure, beginning stages of foreclosure, whatever it is, we could require registration. Would require inspections. There's a fee to register, and then the idea is that the fee will incentivize either occupancy of the property or sale or redevelopment, whatever it is. So it allows us to keep track of it. I'm working with our fire bureau. They want to be able to have more access to these properties to put signage on for hazards in case there's a fire, that first responders know what's inside the house in terms of hazards to them. So we're working on these tweaks. I could have a draft ordinance, and I do have a draft ordinance. I could circulate it. It doesn't come without a balance. There's going to be some stories of, hardship, and the ordinance is going to be black and white. They have to register. It's additional cost. Whether that's a commercial property owner or residential, there's going to be some of those. But we know driving around, there's a lot of the other ones too, where whether it's, we talked about some of them last meeting. There's both sides of it. So I am going to ask the governing body when they consider it to weigh both sides, and if they think it's something worth moving forward, we can introduce and adopt. And I think I could have a registry, probably 100 properties within 90 days after adoption.
Interesting.
Good job.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
And we did allude to that at the last meeting,
Yeah.
and I guess when we get to the budget, we'll talk about that as well, your line item, and, see what we can do with that.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Keegan?
Well, most of the topics I have been touched on already. A few things with DPW. As I referenced earlier, they're starting to roll out an online bulk pickup request that'll help for scheduling. We're kind of testing it out now, so there's limited usage at this point. They started bulk collection in Zone A, brush collection in Zone G. Since the last meeting, they've delivered over 400 tons of material to the various Howell Little Leagues in support of some of their recent requests for assistance. They completed a painting project at the library and switched over our fuel management system to a new vendor. Finally, to comment on Deputy Mayor's comments about the Wall of Heroes, the submissions for that are going to be ongoing. So we did get an original influx. We're up to about 40 slides, as she said, so far. Hopefully, once people see it, we'll be able to get more in, but that'll be an ongoing thing. It's not, will be no cutoff. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Clark?
All right, just very quickly. So this keys off of something that Councilman Bonovich had said, Deputy Mayor had said, and Mr. Gagan had said. Chris Hill from PAL was in my office today. I was talking to him about putting together a lease for the lacrosse league. Typically, we do that with all of our leagues. And I had asked him sort of, could he arrange a meeting? Because apparently there had been one with all of the different sports teams and that, kind of figure out one of the conditions of our lease with them is that they pay for field maintenance and that. And so the lease price for them to pay to the township is very small, it's $1 a year. But maintenance and upkeep's difficult, so we're gonna meet with them all next week to kind of get a number that they pay per year for it. So that might give us a benchmark when we're looking possibly to bid out for the care and maintenance of the park. So, I don't have a date yet. He's reaching out to all of the various league leaders. And once I get that, I'll circulate that to everybody and, we'll figure out who's gonna be in and out of the meeting so we don't have the quorum issues.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, do you have anything more?
One last one.
Seriously?
I know. I don't like to talk this much. About 2 years ago, when the world was kind of falling apart around us with COVID, we had all gotten together and found some relief options for businesses. We did 2 resolutions about 2 years ago, and then we followed up with another one last year. And they offered flexibility from our ordinance on temporary signage, so banners and wind flags, just whether it was getting people in when, they couldn't have seating or restaurants, whatever. We thought that was one way to support them. Another was outdoor dining. And then last year, we did one for outdoor entertainment, just tweak the outdoor dining to include that. Those have since expired. I'd sent around an email just about the thought, we're kind of in the middle. The COVID's still here, it's still around, some of the restrictions are gone. But Councilman Bonovich brought up a good point. The extension of premises through the state for the liquor license for the restaurants that hold those, where they can serve outside, goes through November of this year. We're not sure if it'll be extended, but the thought was to stay consistent with that. If the governing body was in agreement, I could renew those resolutions for the next meeting. Any outdoor dining would be able to continue with our oversight. It's been no issues that I know of. It's worked really well. The signage can continue. When the time comes to enforce that, we'll do so gently and over time. And then the outdoor entertainment would continue for one more season.
I'd like to mirror the state. November, what is it, 22nd?
Yes, 2020.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I'd like to mirror the state.
Oh, yeah.
We shouldn't shut ours down prior to the state's
Agreed.
November 22nd.
I agree.
I agree.
All
I agree. I think the businesses will be very happy to hear that.
right, so
So
I'll
we
have that in
agree.
place for before the nice warm weather, and they'll be ready to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, can I ask a question with that? So the businesses that took advantage of these opportunities that we put forth, will they know? I mean, how will we let them know that? Because I know some of them were planning on coming to the planning or the zoning to, keep their.
Last year, I had sent out permit renewals. I just automatically extended any permit that was
Right.
granted. We can do that again. The outdoor dining seems to have taken a step back because the restrictions are lifted, but there are still some doing it. So I'll send out the renewals. I'll let them know that they can, come
Great.
back with any questions or modifications. The people that are coming for site plan approval, there's a few, or variance approval, it's for a permanent setup. So that's forward thinking on their part, that these flexibilities will expire at some point, and they'll be able to continue doing what they're doing if they have those approvals in place.
Great, thank you, thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, may I just?
Yes.
Mr. Geegan, could you just clarify, we talked about bulk pickup, and there has been an issue, some people asking about leaf pickup. My understanding is that that is not applicable with brush pickup, is that correct?
They do brush, not leaves.
Leaves are in the fall, brushes, sorry to cut you
No,
off.
that's-
Brush is in the spring. It's a spring, winter cleanup from all the, branches that have fallen. Code enforcement does kind of try and help DPW because they're looking just for brush now, so we try and let property owners know if they
So
put
it's
out the wrong
important, and the
stuff.
public is aware that we're not doing leaf pickup at this time, just brush pickup. Secondly, just wanted to ask, can we just have a quick update on the hazardous tree marking and the impending removal?
That's ongoing with DPW. They're assisting with that. They're still working on the survey.
On the survey itself?
Yes.
Literally, you mean survey as in marking those trees?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks.
Just to follow up on Councilwoman O'Donnell, right on the Howell Township, right on the website, the bulk pickup request form, right on the page, there's bulk guidelines, and it's strictly, it tells you what's, concrete, debris, wood fencing, tree limbs, grass cutting, shingles, sheet rock, they're not for bulk. So if anyone just wants to go on the website, it is a quick guideline right there for bulk. as well.
Yeah, I just had a couple of calls on leaves, and I just thought if we mentioned it on
Yep.
television, it might be helpful to those that,
When they schedule it, there's a nice guideline there.
yeah. So,
Mr.
Thank you.
Palazzo?
I will save any commentary I have for the budget portion of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so at this time, I would like to open the floor for the hearing of citizens and public comment. I have on the list Barbara Dixell. Is the mic on? Do you know, are the desk mics on?
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know. We'll find out.
They are, I hear you.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Barbara Dixell, resident of Howell Township, Villages. Before I start asking, I just want to make one request at the senior center. When you get out of the car at the parking lot, it's very hard to walk down the cement walkway. Halfway down, there's a metal pole that you can hang on to walk. I've been asking Justin Yost every time I get to talk to him, please extend this pole on both sides out to the parking lot so all of us wonderful young seniors can grab onto it and walk down to the senior center. And then walking out of the senior center, it's hard because the sidewalk is not even. It's down one way, and the other way it's going up. Please extend this metal pole railing all the way out to the parking lot. Believe me, it's very badly needed.
Brian, could you just?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Got it.
Okay. On the agenda. This is, all right. R-22-147, something about a litigation settle a litigation on a Oprah request.
Is that 148?
Yeah, that's a settlement, $2,500 settlement.
Right, right. So it had to do with the denial of an Oprah.
Okay.
The law had changed shortly prior, so, you know, the requester sued, we immediately settled, and it's, the value of it's $2,500.
Okay. 22-7, are you going to open that to the public for a public hearing?
22 what? I'm sorry.
The ordinance on the end.
Oh. Yeah,
That will be open to the public?
Yes.
Okay.
always does.
Good, then, okay, then I'll.
Mayor, I would suggest if she wants to comment now while she's at
No,
the
I
mic.
don't want to comment now. I want to comment when the hearing.
Okay.
No, I have other things to comment on.
You could just sit there, Barbara, if you like.
Oh, all right, anyway, what I have to say is, God made the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. I am asking Howell Township to write an ordinance concerning condominium association developments. Because it's not like a private house where your house could be 10 feet or 20 feet from the next house. All condominium associate developments in Howell are connected. Our walls are connected, the houses are connected, everything is connected. If someone is doing construction or something, you hear it. You hear it, it's maddening. So I am asking you to write an ordinance and have it ready for the next meeting so that
What would you like in the ordinance?
well,
I'm
have
not-
some respect for your neighbors. That's all I'm saying, is if you're gonna do construction in your apartment, it's basically an apartment or a house that's attached to the next one. In my house, my kitchen wall, the garage wall is attached all the way down through the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedrooms, it's all on one wall. So if somebody is doing a lot of heavy construction or something, it's living hell.
But usually, there are rules within the association.
That's what you think.
I'm sorry, there's a noise ordinance in place presently within the township, before a certain hour, ends at a certain hour.
Well, okay.
1 minute remaining.
Thank you so much. The house next to us was sold to a builder. He turned a one-bedroom home into a two-bedroom house. How he's gotten away with it, I have no idea. But they have been banging, clanging, knocking, ripping walls out, ripping plumbing, heating, and you name it, ripping out everything. And I don't know how the villages can even let them do this. But years ago in the villages, we had an architectural form to fill out. It had to be filled out, it had to be looked at, it had to be inspected. The township had to inspect it. Now, from what I understand, it's your house, do what you want. So I have no idea, but I can tell you something. We're facing a living hell. And this doesn't stop. It's all day and all night. Sunday from 10 to 5, that's your ordinance. Please give people some rest. Kill Sundays. So somebody needs a little bit of peace.
5 minutes.
And I have to tell you also that we have to be very concerned with all the banging, knocking, and honking that's been going on for weeks. We have to be very concerned about the safety of our own house. We really do. They've been using heavy construction equipment like you're taking the Empire State Building down. You can't imagine the ripping out, the plumbing, the heating, and you name it. My cabinets shook, my walls shook. At the beginning, I called the guy in, I said, listen, my kitchen wall is shaking, I hope you're not gonna break it. It's all the way down. Please, I'm asking you, write an ordinance. I don't try to think of putting some stuff in it, but maybe Matt Howard can think of something. Just give people in condominium associations some peace or something, because the walls, yeah, there's a separation between the walls and the houses, but you can practically hear somebody opening and closing a closet. If they're gonna do construction, please, just please, give us some peace. And as far as the villages goes, it is my opinion that the villages board of trustees and the management needs to be called into town hall for them to explain why they're letting builders and people into the villages to go rip houses apart and transfer one-bedroom house into a two-bedroom house. What's gonna happen when people have to sell this house? What's it gonna be assessed at? How are they even gonna manage this? That's a very deep concern of mine. But we have to be concerned about the safety of our own house with all of this stuff going on around us.
Well, I by no means I'm going to say that I know the answer to this, but Mr. Howard, if you have a home and you have the correct square footage and the correct windows and whatever else is in that equation, you're able to change your house. Is that not correct?
Uniform Construction Code, right, you have to follow the code. We have experience in other HOAs where they've actually been sued, we've heard, because they've tried to, instead of regulating the outside of the property and the property maintenance, where we know they can kind of go crazy at times, they tried to say, well, in this case, you can't have a second bedroom, you can't convert an attic into a living space, and the answer was you can't control the inside of the house that way. If it's to code, the HOA has no power, just like us. The closest we get to regulating bedrooms is if it's on a septic system, because Monmouth County Board of Health and septic size is based on the number of bedrooms. As long as it meets code, there's housing codes, there's minimum size requirements, like you said, windows, doorways. It's not something that zoning or building can
Well, I don't know, I mean, I know the building department's been in there, but I know they've completely ripped it apart. They've adjusted, they've made different sizes, and they've completely ripped it apart, and I don't know, but I'm deeply concerned, and we're deeply concerned for the safety of our own house.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that we have any control.
Okay, that's fine.
Did you want to stay there
No,
till the next?
but what we might do is, we might hire a residential structural engineer. That's gonna be our next step. All right, now, you're gonna I'll come back, it's okay. But I just want,
Just stay there, Barbara.
I just want you to know and understand and try to write something for condo HOAs and condo associations, because everything is attached.
Mayor, we've gone well past the 5-minute mark. I'll need
Okay.
a motion
I'm
and a
done.
second to continue this.
I'm done,
Okay.
I'm done.
Thank you. Ben Novick?
Evening, Mayor and Council.
Hello.
For your dedication of the memorials that you moved over to the Veterans Park, I'd just like you to keep in mind the parking for the disabled veterans and the veterans that set up the memorial service. I've been there a lot of times, and the parking is going to be limited, and a lot of the vets that are getting older, longer in the tooth, and their wounds from the service prohibit them, from walking far. So when you set all this up, would you please keep this in mind?
Absolutely.
All righty? So thanks a lot, good luck, and see you at the service.
Thank you.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Thank you very much.
Jim Alexander?
Jimmy, can you move that chair over there if you don't mind? Thank you. I forgot I put it there. Sorry, thank you.
Hi, Mayor, Council. Bear with me, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. I was just here to witness, but as I sat here, I felt like I had some things that I owe my membership that I was elected to represent their due, and some of the people in this room, I also, I felt like I needed to speak on their behalf. So, I don't know, it was roughly 3 months ago, I stood before you guys. We came here looking for assistance because we were dealing with a situation at work that we didn't know how to deal with anymore. Our work environment was poor, to say the least. So we came here and, we stated our case, and I guess it was heard probably more loudly by some than by others. And 3 months later, we find ourselves in a new situation at the police department. Mayor, Councilman, I realize that you consider Andy Kudrick to be a friend, and I'm not going to get into the weeds with you about it, but I'm also not going to stay silent on the narrative that he was this great man that did all these great things. He put us through hell for the last 2 years, and quite frankly, we're happy to see him go. And I speak on behalf of the majority of my membership when I say that. So the idea of the man that was a great communicator, that always put Howell first, I can see why you might have that perspective, but from our perspective on the inside looking out, that's not what we saw. We didn't see a good communicator, and we saw somebody that always put Andy Kudrick first, above all and everything else. That being said, it was a trying time, because after we came here 3 months ago, he doubled down his efforts, and he made things even harder on us. And like I said, I'm happy that we're starting a new day, and we have a fresh start, and we look forward to working with the new police administration to right some of the wrongs that have been committed over the past couple of years. I want to thank the people that took our plight seriously, because for us it was very serious. A special thanks to a couple administrators, Township Attorney Joe Clark and Township Manager Brian Gohagan. When we were going through something and we weren't necessarily sure where we were going, kind of felt like we were flapping in the wind, they were a lifeline for us, and I think that they navigated a very difficult, volatile situation, and I think at the end of the day, they worked that situation out in the best interest for the town, for the PBA, and really at the end of the day, even probably when he didn't deserve it, in the best interest of Andy Kudrick too. So I'd just like to say thank you to the two of you, and thank you to the council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and just want to say good luck to Captain Interim Chief Pilecki. We look forward to working with him and whatever changes may come along the road. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no one else on the list. Is anybody else coming up?
Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street. I wasn't going to speak, but after hearing that, I have to say something, because as much as I support our PBA, and I've always have, and I grew up across the street from a police officer that's still there. I've grown up with a lot of these Howell police officers over the year. I've been here 45 years, and our police department is our crown jewel of this town. But I'm tired of hearing them put each other down. Nobody's ever done this before. You know what, Chief Kudrick, I can't tell you in the last 5 years when I looked at the budgets and he stood here and half of those PBA new members, he fought for them, because there's people on council that were saying no. So he fought for those people to be on there, and they are PBA members. He fought every budget. He fought for cars when they needed safety, when they needed to secure his membership. I'm not saying everything was great. Everybody has problems with their employers. It's just a fact of life. We all have problems. You know what? And if you have problems, they need to be dealt with. They're being dealt with in the proper atmosphere. They're being dealt with internally. Deal with whatever you have to deal with. But to keep bringing this up, the Howell residents, there's one thing we don't mind paying taxes for. We will pay taxes to keep our officers safe. We will pay taxes to keep them protected for anything they need. When you come in with a budget, when the police come in with a budget, you will not hear anybody question it. Can we please stop trashing each other? This is our town. We are residents. We have the best police force there is. We don't need bringing that police force down. We will stand behind our police force. We need our police force to stand with us residents. We need to bring this town together. Let's move on to the next chapter and stop this whole thing of bringing everything public. I don't know what happens. It's a personnel issue. I'm not going to take sides here. I'm just saying let's move on. Whatever happened, we're moving on. I wish Chief Kudrick the best. I wish our police department the best. I wish the interim chief, Mark Pilecki, the best. He has been around for so long. He's another one I grew up with. I mean, I've known him. He followed me to school when I was, I lived in Farmingdale. We all walked to school. So can I tell you how he would watch us kids walk to school to make sure we got to school safely? I mean, there is great things in this police department. I don't want anybody trashing it. I don't want to bring it down. Nobody needs to go against the PBA, because the PBA is great. I will always support the PBA. All I'm asking is can we please, the chief has done great things. Is there some things that maybe, that something happened in the police station that it's not? Maybe. I mean, we're all, listen, we all had jobs. Have you always got along with everything your boss wanted you to do? I don't know what the situation is. But let's all get along and let's move on. There's no use coming to public meetings and trashing each other.
No, you'll wait to do it on Howell Happenings instead, right, Tina? Everybody. So let's lead by example, okay? Don't come up here and grandstand.
Don't yell.
I'm not yelling. I'm just trying to make my point
You
heard.
are yelling.
No, I'm not yelling.
I'm asking
I'll
for us
sit back
all
here.
to be,
Tina, it starts with you. You are the most divisive person in this room, and it starts with you.
thank you.
So lead by example.
Just see who was
Exactly.
divisive.
You're right.
So,
I'm very aggressive, because
You are
you're
very
lying
aggressive.
and you're wrong and you're very divisive, and I'm
And
tired
this-
of seeing it.
This is an ethics issue here. So I will. Oh, maybe you need it. So I'm trying,
Pam.
this is my 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll extend an extra minute. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is, this is our town. We have a great town.
Right, we do.
This has to stop.
Yes, it
All
does.
this has to stop.
Yes, it does. Maybe when Howell Happenings gets shut down, it'll stop.
Well, Howell Happenings is not going to get shut down.
fine.
You know what? You might not like the First Amendment, but the rest of us in this country
Really?
do.
Everybody in here knows that Howell Happenings shut people down. Don't even begin to be a hypocrite. Aggressive
Attack people.
People who speak the truth, who call you out. Exactly. I'm right here. Let's do it.
Okay, what did you want to call me out about?
Huh? Your divisiveness, your misinformation. You continually, you know what, Tina? I had to put it on the record, so there you have it. So don't be a hypocrite.
I'm not a hypocrite. I'm asking you. If you think I'm divisive, let's talk about it.
You are. I don't want to talk to you. I just want to make sure the public knows. I just want to make sure the public knows how divisive you
This
are
is
and the
very
misinformation. It's
inappropriate.
inappropriate, Mayor?
It's very
Okay, well
inappropriate.
then what are you going to do? Because they're defending you, that's why.
It's This is what causes everybody to
No,
argue.
Tina, you are what causes this.
No, I'm not. Well, I've got 24,000 people that disagree.
Really?
Yes.
And guess what? You're starting to be exposed.
That's fine. You can expose whatever you want. I'm right here. I will answer any question you want, but you don't want to ask a question. You just want to put out allegations.
No, I don't
as a
want to ask you
background.
any questions.
So, yeah, you just want to attack for no reason.
Oh, really? I learned from the best, I guess, huh?
Well,
If I may-
if you have to learn from anybody.
All right.
If I may,
Let's- let's-
don't,
let's-
like, we
If
can't
I may,
attack.
Let's move
She
on.
has come up to say that we are decisive, but she always has to have the last word, because the PBA president just came up and gave a very difficult, I don't want to say speech, but just presented something very serious. And when he speaks on behalf of his membership, and you come up and you just basically discredit, saying, yeah, I'm a fan of the PBA, I always have been, always will be, but, everyone's got these problems. These gentlemen and ladies of our PBA came forward with a vote of no confidence. That is a very serious matter. And
Okay, then let's put the facts
I
out.
don't think that you actually understood the significance of that. These men and women of the rank and file, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 69 out of 71 of their members.
How many members are in the PBA?
But of the 69 of the 71 members who participated in that vote of no confidence, they voted together. So for you to come and say that you're discrediting the people that you say that you support, and that's very frustrating.
It's over. Let's move on. Let's stop.
You continue to bring it up because that gentleman brought it up, but now you have to come up, and then now you continue it. So you are saying that you want to have the last word.
No,
You
I'm
couldn't
saying
just let it go. You couldn't let it go with our PBA having the last word. You needed to come up and have the last word. And that's inappropriate, in my opinion, if you're going to say there and put on the holier-than-thou crown, saying that we need to stop the bickering, we need to stop all of this going on, but you are the one who always has to say it, rather than letting somebody else have that last word, and you taking that step back.
Listen.
I would say just as this council, let's move on together right now.
Yes, please,
Can we
let's.
please? Because yeah.
You could extend her a minute if you like. I'd like to make a motion to extend Ms. Smilik's.
You extended it, but I'm saying right now I think we should just move on. Let's get to the business here.
My point was not that there wasn't problems. I didn't dismiss anything. I just think that somebody also should say the good things that Chief Kudrick did. There's both sides of a story here, and we're only hearing one side. You know what? Be transparent. Let's put out what was done, what was said. That's all I'm saying. People have a right to know. You want people to understand, you have to tell them. That's all I'm saying.
You do understand that there are things that can't be said.
Just as a point of,
So I think the frustration for me lies that because there is a void, you think that you should fill that void with your opinions
No.
and your assumptions.
I think that I
And
have a
think
right
that
to
that's
talk, and
absolutely,
I
but
have a right to
you're
say that
making
I think there are
assumptions
good
because
things
there is
that
a
Chief
void.
Kudrick did.
excuse me, as a point of information, Mr. Clark, it's an ongoing investigation. I mean, should we pursue this any further?
I don't
as the
think that you should be
investigation goes
talking
further?
about it at all. The facts are what the facts are. I know Ms. Smilik has said several times that she doesn't know them, and I will verify that she doesn't. Some people may have a different attitude about everything, were they to find out, but I think everybody here has an interest in sort of moving on. There's still a process in place for everything, and when everything is said and done, council will be apprised of all of that.
Yeah, I just don't want to jeopardize any ongoing investigation.
I advise that you just
Thank you.
not talk about it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak? At this time, I'm going to close this portion of the meeting. May I have a motion for the consent agenda items?
I'll make the motion to move Resolution 22-137 through Resolution 22-150.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Burger?
Yes. Resolution R 22-151, amending the 2022 temporary appropriations pursuant to NJSA 40A semi 4-20 prior to adoption of the 2022 municipal budget.
I'll make the motion to move Resolution 22-151.
May I have a second?
I'll second, oh, sorry.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. R 22-152, resolution appointing a member to the Howell Alliance. May I have a motion and the member's name?
I don't have the member in front of me. Twenty-two, 152.
Yeah, I would make a motion to appoint Eileen Solaz to the Howell Municipal Alliance.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. R 22-153, resolution accepting a resignation and appointing member to the Farmers Advisory Committee and Preservation Task Force.
Well, first, I'd like to thank Rosemary Byrd for her service on both of these committees. Secondly, I would like to offer the Preservation Task Force, sorry. I apologize. I'd like to appoint Mike Morgan to the Preservation Task Force and the Farmland Advisory. And Farmland Advisory, I'm sorry, I can't even read what I wrote. I apologize.
Oh, Jeff Aliana?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Morgan?
Jeffrey Aliano to the
I'll second that.
Farmland. Thank you.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Unfinished business, public hearing / adoption of ordinances. 0-22-7, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 11, Conditional Uses, Section 98.4, entitled Gasoline Station and Convenience Center of the Revised General Ordinance of the Township of Howell. Please read the ordinance.
Mayor, would you like to open for public
Public,
hearing on
yes.
this ordinance? If anyone would like to speak?
Yes, I would.
Go ahead, Bob.
Barbara Dixell, The Villages. Could you explain what this is and what it does and what it's for before I say anything?
Sure.
Howard.
It clarifies the existing ordinance. It's a conditional use, which means it's generally a permitted use. However, there's some extra conditions in the ordinance that it has to comply with. Ultimately decides what type of review it gets for site plan, use variance, whatever it is. The intention of the ordinance was that these sites for gasoline and service stations with convenience stores would be on two roadways. Corner lots is kind of generally how that works. This is clarifying one of those conditions where it said that driveways had to be on both streets. In this case, it says that it's Route 9 and the intersecting street. Doesn't account for if there is a third roadway involved. So we wanted to add some clarity that there are multiple driveways still coming from the site, so the intention of the ordinance doesn't change, but it does give a little bit more flexibility if there's three roads instead of two.
Could you tell me what the site is that you're talking about?
This is an ordinance that affects the entire town.
Because there's two gas stations. There's the Guild Petroleum on one, and then there's the Exxon on the other.
We also have Quick Checks, we have Wawas, we have several.
Okay. The Exxon, I understand that 7-Eleven is going to take them over, or
There's an application in front of the board.
in front of the board. For many years, the villages and my committee, the Villages Howell Township Liaison Committee, unfortunately, I'm the only one left alive from that committee, worked with Exxon Corporate, Mr. Tillison, to be absolutely, positively sure that the back of the Exxon station never, ever gets open to the roadway to Wyckoff Mills Road, because it's a head-on deadly collision
waiting to happen. And they agreed all those years that the back of that station has stayed closed. The unfortunate part about the Howell Park and Ride is that they opened the back to cars going in from Elton, Adelphia. Well, today we came this close to getting hit from cars coming out. That was a big mistake they made, and they don't want to rectify it. I wish they would close that entrance exit on Wyckoff Mills Road. But, yet, your ordinance, what I said, the gas stations have to be on a major intersection, roadway and an intersection. The Gill Petroleum thing, is when I was working on that. The Gill Petroleum wanted to come in, their application was to come in on 9 North and take an oil tanker truck out on Wyckoff and get to the corner to make the left turn onto Strickland to go left or right onto Route 9. There is a 4-ton weight limit sign at the village's entrance. There's a 4-ton weight limit sign on Elton, Adelphia, and Wyckoff. So any oil tanker coming off 9 and Casino, coming down in back of Woolies and back of that, it's a state highway, by the way. That road off Casino to Strickland on Wyckoff is a state highway. It stops at the corner of Strickland and Wyckoff. And I'm asking, please be sure that any oil tanker truck, if Gill decides to open, does not get the permission or the major access permit from DOT to come in on 9 North and go out on Wyckoff, because that's an accident waiting to happen. An oil tanker truck cannot make the left turn onto Wyckoff and Strickland, cannot pull the cab and the rest of the truck around that corner. They just can't.
You can't swing wide enough to make that turn. I drove a tractor trailer. I couldn't even make that turn.
Yeah, Jerry drove for 25 years. I mean, you just can't. And what's also happening is sometimes, now with the construction, of course, on Elton, Adelphia, we're getting large 53-foot trailer trucks down all of Wyckoff. That has to stop also because the bridge and the water on the Long Brook isn't going to hold. I'm afraid some truck is going to sink through the bridge. But again, just keep in mind that the back of the Exxon station can never, ever be open to traffic coming up and down Wyckoff, because that's an instant fatal accident. And oil tanker...
1 minute remaining.
Okay, thank you. Oil tanker trucks cannot make the left turn from Strickland, if it's Gill Petroleum, from Wyckoff onto Strickland, to make the left or right on 9. Just please keep all this in mind, because this is a matter of safety and life and death if one of these tankers has an accident.
Mr. Howard, please.
For these sites that are being specifically mentioned and any other that's covered under this ordinance, through the site plan approval process, truck circulation is one of the key components that's reviewed. There's turning templates for each size truck. The applicants give testimony as to what the largest truck is, and they actually draw up a plan that show usually a garbage truck, how it could come in, get to the dumpster, get out. In this case, it would be any type of delivery truck or a tanker delivery truck. So the site plan process does account for this review, and the planning board checks on it. If these motions are not capable by those vehicles, the plans are going to show that, and the board can put conditions on to prevent that motion from being made.
Thank you.
Like I said, thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
Is there anyone else that I would like to close this portion? May I have a motion to adopt 0-22-7?
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to adopt ordinance 0-22-7.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich.
Before we vote on this, real quick, Matt Howard, I just want to, so this, you're saying that the planning board could put on restrictions, they can't make that turn? correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
On this and any other application, no matter what the ordinance is.
just making sure that I'm a yes on this.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. There are no new ordinances, so I'd like to begin the 2022 municipal budget.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. We're that time of year again, up to our budget introduction for 2022. Just to review, as you guys have all sat through several budgets now, the process up to this point, all the department heads formulate their submissions for the year, for the following year in the summer and early fall. That's compiled November of last year. We held managers' hearings, which are open to the public, where the department heads come in and review what their wishes are for that upcoming budget. Times some things are included in the budget, included at that point. Other things are stricken from the budget from those hearings. Then that's when all the real work starts to begin. We start reviewing documents, drilling down. As 2021 came to a year end, our finance department finalized all their financials for the year. So that gave us a better picture on some of our revenue, which is an integral part of this year's budget. And then, as you're all aware, I've met with each of you individually to go over any questions you've had or address any concerns, and have moved forward from there to finalize tonight's budget. To take a look back at where we were for last year, because that's a big indicator before we can move forward. This just goes over the various revenue totals from when we sat here a year ago, what we were anticipating in the budget to what the numbers actually came in at. So you can see we performed a little bit better than expected at about 104, just shy of 105% of our planned revenue. Moving on, our surplus from the year prior, just so to give you a snapshot of that, as of January 1st of '21, so just over a year ago, we had $10.5 million in our surplus. We'd used 7.2 million, almost 7.3 in that previous year's budget. This year we were able to, this past year rather, we were able to regenerate 4.6 million, leaving us with 7.8 total available for this year. My proposal includes using about $4.86 million towards this year's budget. Again, backing up to 2020, our collection of taxes, this is a projection of what we tax, where we were at. You can see we were at 98.2%, which was a slight decrease from the previous year. So overall, it's still a very good collection rate, but it was a decrease from the year before. Our ratables, that was a big story over the past several months, as you're aware, with part of being part of the county assessment demonstration program and real estate market values lately booming. We overall increased 11.84% as part of our total valuation township-wide. Finalized budget from 2020 was $55.4 million. We expended 53.3, leaving 2 million, 2.1 million. A large chunk of that was dedicated to appropriation reserves, and then we canceled off 202,000 moving into 2021. Now, moving into the 2022 budget, preparation presentation is probably the single largest job that comes across my office, and namely the chief financial officer. I have to give credit there because a lot of this work falls on him. The budget presentation as a reminder for the governing body and the public as well, this is only the municipal portion of your taxes. I know everyone sees that the township collects your entire tax bill. We're collecting for all the other entities, the schools, the fire districts, the counties. So we also need to account for if a resident doesn't pay their tax bill, we still need to make them whole. So, but overall, we average about just over 16% of the residents' total tax bill. Just for everyone's education, we go over this every year, to calculate the tax rate, the municipality calculates the total cost for all services, less any offsetting revenues such as grants, user fees, money borrowed, or money transferred from reserves to arrive at the amount to be raised by taxes. This amount is divided by the total assessment of the municipality, and that's how we come up with our annual tax rate. So, moving from 2021 to 2022, I'm introducing a $719,000 increase for a total of $55,562,000. We are anticipating almost $25.3 million to offset that, with an amount to be raised by taxation of just over $30 million. Now, breaking down that budget, a significant portion of that is salaries. Our people, our employees, our police officers, our EMTs, public works, as well as office staff. So that is the single largest part of our budget. We always break down our non-discretionary other expenses, discretionary expenses, and then any grants that we are aware of as of, actually this is as of last Friday. So we try and keep that as current as possible. So overall, our budget is increasing 1.31% over last year. Just to break down what that increase consists of, contractual and non-contractual increases, that's the largest part of it. Step increases in the contracts is the next highest portion. Then proposed new employees and upgrades, I'll get into that specifically later on. Part-time wages, and then we've had a slight increase in overtime. Fortunately, with such a large staff, we do have retirements and resignations over time, so naturally a higher paid employee retires, they're replaced with a lower paid employee. That's where we realize some of that savings. So total salaries and wage increase of $640,000. These are some other notable changes in this year's budget. The increase in employee health benefits, pension payments, gasoline is something we're all dealing with, and an increase in our reserve for uncollected taxes. We did have a significant decrease in our debt service this year, as some old debt has been retired off the books of just shy of $900,000. So the discretionary expenses, these are the things that we can really drill down on. As I referenced earlier, proposing to include the privatizing of the janitorial services for the criminal justice building, similar to what we've done here at Town Hall. Those employees will be absorbed back into DPW and reassigned to other tasks. Vehicle maintenance and legal have both seen significant jumps. Our fleet management lease program, this is something that was implemented this past year as a replacement program to try and get better value out of some of our vehicles. The town hall fleet, basically everything outside of the police department and our heavy-duty trucks. We're going to work into this program over time. Communications and software maintenance, we've had contractual increases over time. Our insurance, Social Security, and then all the department requests combined shows an increase of $121,000. That's throughout the entire budget. So you see some of the things that have come off that we've done in the past that are no longer needed, master plan updates, tax maps, and then one of our first aid squads that is no longer operational, so we don't need to, no longer need to budget for that. So, in summary, just breaking this down, total municipal spending increase of $719,000. Sources of that revenue, using $4.8 million in surplus, which is a slight decrease from last year. You may recall last year, very late, the governing body had asked to apply more surplus to have a flat tax levy, so kind of put us a little bit behind the eight ball for this year. Our miscellaneous revenues, that's various fees and permits. With a lot of the building that's been going on, we've been able to see a marked increase in those numbers, so we're anticipating a larger number. State aid remains flat. Again, grants are what is known to date. And then delinquent taxes, we have a slight increase in that as well. Amount to be raised by taxation is increasing just over $1 million. Again, referencing the total proposed budget of $55,562,000, an increase of 1.29% overall. Just to provide a graphic of this revenue that supports our budget, you can see that just over half of it comes from tax dollars, 54%, and the balance is made up through various other revenue sources. But it's a good depiction, visual depiction of where the money comes from. Just to review our debt service, as I said, we had a large decrease from last year. We're going from $8 million down to $7 million, or I'm sorry, net total of 7.4 to 6.5. Our general obligation bonds total $55 million with capital leases of just over $6 million. So to go over our debt, what we're allowed to have versus what we actually have, our actual debt is $75 million, which is a 3-year average equalized valuation basis, so that's 0.947%. Just as a comparison, what we could go up to, by no means am I recommending this, you can see the calculation, but our borrowing capacity is an additional $2 million, over $2 million from what we carry currently. So we are trying to keep that in check every year. That's why we balance, how much capital we do expend. So the tax rate we are introducing is 35.82 cents, which is a decrease from last year. I'd like to show where we've been the last 2 years. In 2020, we were ranked 19, our tax rate amongst the county. 2021, we moved up to number 16. We obviously don't have everyone's tax rates yet, so I won't know what 2022 is, where we fall. But with that tax rate, we would move up to about number 12 countywide. That tax rate is a 2.8 cent tax reduction from last year. The average property assessment is currently at $416,890. They will see an estimated increase of approximately $58 in their municipal tax levy. And this based on the change in their assessment value since last year. New positions that I am including in my proposed budget are one additional police officer. That would be in addition to replacing any retirees on a one-for-one basis. Adding one laborer position to DPW. And again, the department head had requested more, but anticipating that he's going to recapture some of the employees that currently do the janitorial services in the police department will increase his workforce. And then adding one EMS supervisor and 2 EMTs to our EMS program. As you know, every year I've been expanding this program. We're running into harder and harder times with hiring and retaining our per diem staff, which that is how we formerly equipped our EMS, and it's becoming quite a challenge. It's pretty much between our paid staff and then Howell First Aid. They each carry about half the volume of calls township-wide. With this proposed budget, the town is compliant with both appropriations and levy cap, and with this budget as presented. That's all for the municipal budget. Then to quickly go over the sewer utility budget. Again, our surplus from the prior year, anticipated versus realized. We came in, again, just over almost 105% of what was anticipated. Our budgets for our budget versus what was expended, you can see the difference there and how that was broken out for appropriation reserves and monies canceled. As far as our debt service for the sewer utility, that is, we're budgeting a larger amount, and a lot of that has to do with the Freewood Acres development, expanding that. And then our sewer utility appropriations. Was that a typo? Sorry, this should read 2022. I missed that typo earlier. This is what's being introduced moving forward. It is just over a 1% increase, or a $76,000 change over the prior year. And that would be using $755,000 of their surplus, anticipating $5.3 million in sewer fees, for a total balance of $7.4 million. And this just goes over our fund surplus coming into this year. We are proposing to use $755,000 as opposed to the $667,000 that was used in the prior year. And that is the end of my presentation. Tried to make it quick and painless as much as possible.
I did, I met with you guys, but I did have a question that you didn't answer so much. So I talked about the special expenses, right?
Yes.
I know that you had said that it's difficult to do a percentage across the board, but did we at least take a look at the different departments to see if we could cut anything out of that?
There have been various cuts through all different lines, both specialized expenses and other budget lines. If you refer to your large binders, that usually breaks down by department what they're encompassing in their specialized expenses budget.
Yeah, but
So, you know, just for example, like in the manager's office, under my budget, specialized expenses covers our drug testing program, HR training that's rolled out throughout the township to all employees. But then, here, I'll just happen to.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
Did any increase in any department?
Yes, I'm sure some did. I can't say, I mean, that,
I mean, I haven't gone through each one to check each line item, so I just don't.
yeah, I mean, that's when I sit with the department heads, both through their public hearings in November and then usually multiple times throughout. We're drilling down on what they actually need. Sometimes there are increases, other times there's decreases. It varies by every department because it's such a broad budget line that you're talking about.
And the specialized expenses is only really for, it's a catch-all for something that doesn't fit into any of the other,
I get
specified
that.
line
That's
item.
why I'm asking
Oh,
you to
okay.
look at it.
Well, in
I
the
totally
sense-
know that.
Well, but I mean, in the sense that, I guess, outside of it being caught in any other line item, like in some of the other departments, the outside cleaning service that we have for the building, as well as the proposed amount for the criminal justice building. We have that sitting in specialized, so it varies from different departments, and not every department has that specified line item. It's only, I would say, probably five departments at the most. Like for finance, we budget for the credit card fees for the park and ride and the municipal court. That's the only thing that we have in our specialized expenses for our finance department. And that's the only reason why I have it there.
Another thing to note, just because Lou had mentioned the cleaning services, we actually did move that from one cost center to another. So yes, there was a significant decrease in one, but an equal
There's
one.
a whole new line item on the other side. Yeah.
We put that under town hall maintenance, just more for accounting purposes to attribute it to this building.
If I may, I did just want to mention, I appreciated the conversation, because I did reach out to you and Lou, so thank you very much for taking the time to explain a couple of things to me. One of the things that I was certainly keyed in on and appreciative of was something you just described, that moving that cleaning services to a private contractor does not displace any of our workers. It actually just will have the ability to reallocate them to a different, which is actually a net gain, which I'm
Correct.
very
Yes.
happy to hear. While we're talking about budget, something else that I had brought up to you in the past as well is my interest in having a conversation with the council, of course, in revamping the website for our community, for our town. Because I really think it should be a place where residents can get all of the information that they need about the town at a ready clip. So I'm hoping that we can do something along the lines of getting 100% transparency through the website, such things as maybe we could have a snowplow tracker. This is something that I had heard about. Keep real time of how many complaints of potholes and how many potholes we've filled. Just a little ticker on the side, just because I think those are the points of interest. But of course, having something, the meeting calendar and the most pertinent links right front and center. So I'm not sure what the total cost would be for that, but I would like to see if that can be allocated somehow into this budget, because, or at least have the discussion at the dais to see if that is something that would be of interest to the council to pursue. Certainly, I'm not looking for $1 million website, but I think that what we had instituted, I don't know how many years ago, I think it's 12, 13, 14, when we revamped it the last time, I think that we're due for it. So I would appreciate just having that conversation to see if we can agree to have that allocated into the budget somehow.
Just as far as, as far as the website, that's like a WordPress, and it's like templates, so you could add on modules.
But I think the whole
Oh, I'm just saying.
I think it's become I think we've done that, and I think it's actually become a very cumbersome website, because there's a million pages.
I would agree. I'm
It's
just saying.
to streamline it and to make it more modernized, because I think there are a lot of websites out there. So that's something that I would be interested in. Again, I'm not looking for $1 million budget on it, but I would just like to see if there's an appetite from the council to at least pursue that, to see what the budget would have to be, or what the expense would be for that, to see if we could put it into the budget.
It probably wouldn't be, it'd probably be around 15 to 20 max.
Yeah.
No, 15,000 to 20 max.
Or $15?
Oh, I was just looking, if she wanted to address those quick fixes, that's very cheap to do, if we want to do that right away. The pothole ticker, all that stuff, those are quick things. You could add modules to the site already, so.
Well, can
That's all it is.
administration take her litany and
So, a few
decide,
things.
what's
I-
costly, what isn't? and-
I actually agree with her that there is so much information on our website, it makes it difficult to find, and it needs a complete overhaul. So I think by adding more modules or whatever, just is adding to that clutter. So we do have different maintenance lines, or lines for maintenance of websites and hosting, things like that. And then some of the work we can handle internally with our staff. So that's the route that I'm going to take first, to see how much they can handle in-house versus just contracting it all out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, this budget, I mean, originally when we seen it, when we first got it, we were up increase of 3.5 cents.
Yeah.
Correct? So now we're
And
down, 2.8
And
cents.
keep in mind, you got it the end of January, I believe,
Yeah, I'm
so.
just saying, so we came a long way with this.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of changes,
It's-
and, you know, to this Councilwoman Brennan's point, I mean, 15 to 20,000, I'm saying it's not gonna move the needle, so I'm okay with it. As far as being transparent and letting all the residents see, I have no issue with that. I was just trying to say, if you wanted that quick fix, you could do that too.
Right. No,
Meanwhile,
I'm
you work
looking
on
for-
a new
I
website.
personally, again, it's a discussion for the,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm looking for
I
a
would-
brand new spiffy,
You know what, like I just said, we came a long way. We were, originally, when we got the binders, we were 3.5 cent increase, and we got it down to 2.8 cents decrease. My only issue here is, we brought it up last week, and I addressed this with Matt earlier. I would like to increase the abandoned property fund from 40. I mean, we don't got to triple it, like I said 2 weeks ago, but maybe if we could add 20 as well. I don't think that these two requests are a lot of money and will move the needle that much. So I think that's a great program.
What was your suggestion, how much? I'm
It's
sorry.
just, well, increase it 50%. Make, instead of 40, make it 60.
Seems very reasonable.
Yeah, it's a great program. I'd like to see it, keep it going. And, you know, if something larger comes our way, you know, like Matt brought up, maybe Old Burger Road or something like, it's gonna be 100,000, we'll address that at that time, but I would like to increase this another 20,000.
Okay.
I agree.
Everyone's on board with it?
Do
Okay.
you need to vote on that?
Well, if I could make a suggestion.
Good.
My recommendation would be that if there were any changes that we would want to make to the budget, obviously the $20,000 amount is something that it's very possible that I could absorb in transfers towards the end of the year. But my recommendation, as far as if there's any changes such as that to the budget, that a $20,000 amendment will most likely, if you were to introduce the budget tonight, get it out on the street, get the
Yes, we're gonna, yes, I agree.
get the ticker of the clock going, and then we can always amend the budget and something like that. $20,000, thinking off the top of my head, unless it's specific to the line item, we probably will not have to re-advertise. We would just need to read it into the record, have a public hearing, same-day public hearing, and then adopt as amended. So.
But you're not talking about 20,000, you're talking about 40,000
In different lines.
in different.
There, yeah.
between the two, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yep.
Does that change anything? Just want to make sure.
Well, I mean, it'll change, if you're adding $40,000 worth of appropriations, then we would need to figure where we're going to offset on the revenue side. So that's, yes, if we're going to increase our appropriations $40,000 on the whole, we just need to figure out where we're going to offset it from. That's all.
And have an amendment.
Right.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
Also, while we jump around, I know we're gonna get to the resolutions. This resolution that we have tonight, can you explain that? Because that was a big to-do. It went from like 100,000 to 6,000 or something.
The 3-year average?
Yes, the
One
three-year
councilman?
average. Can you explain
Okay,
that?
yes.
Because that was a big, yeah, that was a big.
So what the state allows you to, our collection rate was 98.2% in 2021, which is still, it's a good percentage. It's the least that we've had in the last 3 years. So what the state allows you to do is if you are experiencing a decrease in your collection rate, if I left the 98.2% in my calculation for the reserve for uncollected taxes and when I estimate the tax levies for the schools in the county, I usually do a flat 2% on top of what they billed in the previous year. And when I put all that calculation in, it equated to a $100,000 increase in the reserve for uncollected taxes. So by passing this resolution, it will allow us to use the average of the last 3 years' collection rate for computation of this year's tax rate.
So it brought the 100 down to what?
So it brought the to a scotch over $5,000.
Good job.
So, and just for the betterment of the council and the governing body, they're also under the 3-year average resolution is also the cap ordinance that we have introduced and passed every year. The state's cost of living increase rate was 2.5%, so this ordinance is proposing a 1% increase on top of that. As I stated, we are cap compliant. We didn't need to use any cap bank for this year on the appropriations cap, so anything that is not used can be banked for the next 2 years, and we don't like losing that, when we have the opportunity to use it. So that's just a quick summary on what that ordinance that you will be introducing tonight will be as well. And that needs to be done prior to the vote for the introduction of the budget.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. I have a few. Mr. Geegan, I'm happy to see that we are replacing retiree in the PD with one-on-one. I'm happy about that. What I would like to understand is, I understand we have an officer that I presume is street-worthy, to be on patrol, but he's teaching boxing for seniors. So is that somebody that's on some type of a partial disability, or why are we taking somebody off the road for that specific purpose?
That has since been corrected as of early this morning.
Oh, okay,
He has been reassigned back to patrol.
okay. The question is,
Yes.
I'll take that right back. And the other thing I wanted to ask, I know in the past, we have shared the financial of $150,000 with the schools for the Class 3s in the buildings. When this first started, the program was, my understanding was 1 year we were going to help them get this off the ground. So I believe that as we're looking at, I think this is the 5th year, I think perhaps the school might be in a position to absorb the $300,000 and that we no longer have to give them $150,000. We work on a much tighter amount of the dollar, and I think that $150,000 in our budget is needed. So I'd be interested in knowing how the council feels about asking the school district to absorb the $300,000 instead of us paying half of the Class 3 charge. I mean, we do train them, the Class 3s, their pension, and I do believe that we are certainly helpful in their capacity, and certainly they are needed within the schools. There is no question. That is certainly not the reason why I bring this up. I bring this up strictly as a financial question for the council to, just to think of and to perhaps speak about tonight.
You have anything to say? I'm looking at you, Councilman. I know you good? I know that was negotiated, I'm pretty sure,
Quite a
Six
before,
years ago.
before Councilman Bonovich and I sat up here, so I don't know the details of how that was negotiated or why that was negotiated. I mean, I'm not against that. I think, the school gets a lot of money from us.
I believe it was supposed to be phased out over
Yeah,
time.
I believe that as well. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes.
yeah, so,
I will reach out to the school administration and let them know. Just so you're aware, the way that would most likely work, even if the school says, yes, we are going to take on that whole bill, we will probably still budget this number because we're the ones that are paying the salaries, their uniforms, all that, and then we'll just get reimbursed. So
Understood.
you would still see that budget number, but you would also see it on the revenue side.
Lou, I had asked you when we were talking about the budget, you do get a reimbursement check. You invoice them and then they pay us?
I invoice them every 6 months.
Yeah, and we're up to date, they pay on
Yes,
time,
ma'am.
no problems?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so they should be able to pay the increase too.
They usually have it to me the morning after I send them the email.
Awesome, that's great. No, I'm actually
But
okay
again,
with that.
I emphasize that absolutely are needed in the schools. This is strictly a financial thought on my part. Has nothing to do with the merit of the officers within the buildings.
Yeah, I wouldn't want this to stop the program.
No.
Absolutely.
No,
I'm sure
no.
it won't. I'm sure it won't. I mean, we get about 16 cents on the dollar, and the schools are getting a much larger chunk. And we do have well over 50,000 people that we're trying to address, and realize the school has several thousand, but it's critical time. It's a tough time for everybody, and I think sometimes we have to, not that $150,000 is an enormous amount compared to our budget, but 150 here, 500 there, whatever the case, it all matters. And I'd like to do as much as we can, for the taxpayer. And I would never want to get rid of a service for the taxpayer, so.
Not a public safety one
This
either.
is, yeah, and so thank you for your consideration.
Mayor, I have one thing?
Okay.
please? Thank you. I was just wondering, Brian, the cable franchise the fees that we collect,
Yes.
would that be able to be, what did you think I was going to say, Councilman?
No, it came in, the money came in.
The money came in. Could we use that maybe to offset the website, revamping of the website?
That's already included in this budget.
Oh, it's already included in the
It
budget.
was updated Friday. They
Yeah.
got it.
Oh, okay.
That was
sorry.
one of the more recent numbers
That's a
that
good
Lou
idea.
was able to plug into this.
Okay, all right. How much was that?
300
It was up.
Yeah, I know, it was a lot, that's
About-
why. 3-something, I mean, vaguely remember that, okay.
Yeah, just over.
That's okay, Lou, don't wreck you.
Any
Thank you.
cents?
Any cents? No, thank you. Yeah, okay, just a suggestion. I'm okay, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, are we ready? May I have a motion for Resolution R 22-154? Resolution establishing a 3-year averaging method in computing the reserve for uncollected taxes.
I'll make a motion to approve R22154.
I'll second.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance 0-22-8, exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank. Would you like to explain, please, for the public?
I did.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I bugged him early.
So, is there any discussion, council?
We kind of did.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 022-8.
Second.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Resolution 22-155, introduction of the 2022 municipal budget. Are there any additional questions from council?
Nope.
There being none, may I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to move Resolution 22-155, introduction of the 2022 municipal budget.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. For information purposes, the township offices will be closed on Good Friday, April 15th, and the next meeting date would be Tuesday, April 26th, 2022, executive 6 and regular session at 7.
Mayor, before we adjourn, I totally had this on my, and I'm so sorry, just for informational purpose. There's a shade tree spring seedling giveaway, Saturday, April 23rd, 7:30 a.m. at the Public Works Building. The Shade Tree Commission will be heading that up, and it was just put out, so I wanted to put that on the record.
May I have a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.